Hi, I'm Doug from 10 Minute Amiga Retrocast, and welcome to another edition of the ChickenHead Chronicles. This week I want to talk about a new addition to the 10 Mark Labs here, and this new addition came from my good friend Tim Drew AKA Sanxion in the UK. You guys all know Tim. He's part of the illustrious crew at Pixel Gaiden. And you guys, if you don't listen to Pixel Gaiden's podcast, you need to listen to Pixel Gaiden's podcast. It's fantastic. Even though, Cody's wrong 70-80% of the time, the rest of the crew absolutely makes up for it. I'm just kidding, Cody. It's a joke, man. So, I keep in regular touch with Tim, and we've traded some stuff back and forth, and he needed a new accelerator for his Amiga 1200. I had a spare, and I said, I don't have a PAL Commodore 64. I've got NTSC Commodore 64s coming out my ears. I probably have 4 or 5 of them, not as many as, say, like Commodore Lad has. Here's his collection right here. Good job, buddy. But I've got a fair number of them, and my favorite by far is the 64C, even though I grew up as a bread bin kid, and I still have my original bread bin in a multitude of pieces because I've used it to take parts out of to fix other Commodore 64s over the years. I never had a PAL unit, and if you watch my video right here from a couple of months back, my good friend Paulie Alexbo sent a bunch of Commodore 64 tapes over, and they're all in PAL format. Now, truth is, most PAL software works okay on an NTSC machine. I can load this stuff up, I can play the games, but sometimes the screen's just not quite right. Sometimes the audio is just too far off to really even make it enjoyable, and sometimes it just doesn't work at all. I've had pretty good luck running PAL on my NTSC machines. It's, fairly consistent. But I just thought it'd be nice to have a real PAL machine, so when I do play these tapes, I can do it on authentic hardware. So my good friend Tim hooked me up with a fantastic Commodore 64, which we're going to take a look at in just a moment. But look what else he sent. He sent tons and tons of candy. Some of my favorites are these crunchies. And if you're from the UK, you know exactly what a crunchie is. But if you're from the United States, think of a sort of like a Butterfinger, a little bit like a Butterfinger, but mostly the internal guts and less of the chocolate on the outside. It's something that's similar. Then he sent these little fudge goodies here, which look absolutely yummy. I haven't tried those yet. He sent some milk chocolate flake tubes, which look like they're pretty darn good. And then he sent these British pudding collection, which never tried British pudding in a bag like this before. Jelly and custard, lemon meringue tart, peach melba, and our delicious mystery flavor. Knowing British cooking, I don't know if I want to know what the mystery flavor is. Blood pudding, spotted dick, I don't know, and I don't know if I want to know. But it does say they're suitable for vegans. So they're not made with gelatin, so I think I'm going to try one of these out. I haven't had one of these yet. I'm going to get the mystery flavor, and it's going to be like beef steak or something like that. Let's see what we got here. Oh, okay. Here's the little pudding jelly thing. Looks nice. I thought they were going to be squishy, like something that you'd like jelly like. No, they're like now and laters. That's the best thing that I can say that they taste like. It's like good old now and laters. Yeah, I think this is the peach one. Not bad really, but I don't think I'm going to do the rest of this show with a piece of hard candy in my mouth. Excuse me 1 minute. Now the other thing my good friend Tim sent me was some beer. This is Crike Boon which is a cherry flavored alcohol, which looks absolutely delicious. Now he sent me another drink too, a strawberry one. But last night, I'm sitting in bed, I'm watching a show, my wife walks in the room, and she says, "Oh, my son went in and grabbed that beer that you got from your friend in England and started drinking it before I told him not to." It's like, oh, no, those are mine. And here I am having to share with my stepson. Terrible. But he says it was really good. Now you may think that maybe Tim is sending a bribe. A couple of years ago, here's his picture. He sent an image into Amiga Art Contest, and as you can see, it's an absolute work of art, probably one of the finest representations of Amiga art that we've ever seen. And you may think, yeah, he's sending candy, he's sending beer, he's sending Commodore 64s, so, you know, he can win a prize in the show. Let me tell you, we are top of the line judges here. We don't do things like that. We're not going to allow somebody to, win the Amiga Art Contest just because they send us candy. We only take cash. Cash only. My name is spelled DOUGCOMPTON. Make checks payable to me. But that's enough about candy and beer and art contests. Let's take a look at this beautiful Commodore 64C he sent. Of course, the 64C was one of the later generations of Commodore 64s that Commodore made, and they made it in this sleek looking case to more resemble like the Commodore 128s, or possibly more like the newer Amigas, like the Amiga 500. Of course, this is a 1200. There's an Amiga 500 right there. Lots of people absolutely think the bread bin is their very favorite Commodore 64, and I'm down with that. That's absolutely cool. But personally, I love the sleek lines of the 64C, and it's become my favorite style of Commodore 64. Now, compare that to my existing Commodore 64C, the NTSC version. The biggest difference is his is cleaner than mine. The keys are cleaner, the case is cleaner. It's a lovely little machine. Now it has pretty much all the same connectivity, but let's take a look at the back. Cartridge slot is exactly the same. Now here's a little bit different. That's the RF connector right here, and they have low or high as a switch on the RF, where in America, NTSC, it's generally 3 or 4 or 2 or 3 that we switch the channels to. But that's the same 8-pin DIN video connector, same IEC connector, and the data set and the user port are exactly the same. Now, what is different on a PAL machine is the signal that they put out. If you try to hook up just a PAL machine to a regular television with a composite cable, it may be a problem because it's putting out a non-standard PAL signal instead of an NTSC signal, and on some pieces of equipment you'll get nothing but like a black and white or grayscale display. Now mine comes out in full color because of what I'm using to display with it. This is a RetroTink 2. This is something that Mike Chow makes. I'll put a link in the description. And I've also done a video on the RetroTink. And I've got a nice composite cable here. I could use S-Video if I wanted to. The audio cables there. And then it just converts it into HDMI and sends the video and audio down to any HDMI video device that I want to. And I happen to use it to do some video captures. RetroTink is a very, very nice device. When you boot it up, exactly the same in many ways. Although when you compare them side by side, the PAL machines have a little different color background, and they for some reason they appear a little differently. The amount of border appears different on PAL machines. I'm going to boot my NTSC machine up here, and you can compare the two. And here is the NTSC machine. See how the borders are a fraction of the size? The top border on that one came down to about there and about there on the PAL machine. Very, very different appearance. Just the way that the screens work, the different technologies, and the way that probably my television or my monitor is interpreting the signal. And you can also see the colors are just a little bit different. I think a little bit bluer in NTSC land. So what's the difference between an NTSC and a PAL machine? Besides the video standard, the NTSC 6510 chip runs a little bit faster, just a tiny bit faster, and the refresh on the screen is a little bit faster. And what this means in general day-to-day use, our games run faster on an NTSC machine than they do on a PAL machine. Now, my friends in the UK, you may not even know this because you may not have ever seen NTSC Commodore 64 stuff before. But when we here in America, when we're watching a video of you guys playing a game on YouTube on a Commodore 64, the first thing we think is, my goodness, that is running really slow. It's really noticeable how, you know, the bullets on the screen travel slower, the shit moves slower, the enemies all move slower, and the sound feels slower. It's really different, but it's a real phenomenon. It's just what you're used to. Now, what I'm going to do is show a couple of games here where you can actually see my NTSC 64C and my PAL 64C. Same game, doing the same things, and you'll see the performance difference between the two. Let's take a look. I think you'll agree that the performance difference is absolutely there, and we're not crazy when we say PAL games on a PAL machine feel a lot slower to us. Now, Does this mean it's bad or good? No, not at all. Does this mean that because NTSC games run faster on our machines than they do in PAL, does this mean that we Americans are better video game players than our European companions who are running on slower machines? Probably. Yeah, it probably means that. But it doesn't mean that things are bad. Everything's perfectly playable. Everything I was doing when I was playing some ZetaWing in there, you know, playing it in PAL, it took me 30 seconds to get used to the fact that everything was moving slower. But once you get used to it, it's fine, just as fun. You go back to NTSC and you're like, wow, this is fast. And then all of a sudden, oh yeah, I got the groove here, no problem at all. So it's not better, it's not worse, just different. Honestly, just different. So I'm thankful to have this new PAL Commodore 64C in my collection. I keep my 64C out all the time. It's literally in the front room of my house. When people come over, first thing they see is my Commodore 64C sitting next to my pet computer. I'll probably keep the PAL version close by so I can switch between them very easily when I want to do something that requires, you know, PAL. I can just switch between it, no problem at all. Really an attractive machine. Happy to have it in my collection. Thanks, Tim. And thanks to my wonderful patrons. You guys are the best. You can see them scrolling across the screen here over some very exciting gameplay from the Commodore 64. One of my favorite games, although I tend to love all of them. If you are interested in becoming a patron and helping to support the show, pop on over to patreon.com/10mark, and for as little as $2 a month, you can join in the fun here. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed this little, very quick exploration of the 64C and PAL versus NTSC. Honestly, people, there's so many people out there that have it in their head that, oh, you know, everything's PAL, all the games, they're PAL, everything's PAL, everything's PAL. No, it never, ever, ever was. We've been using Commodore 64s since 1982, and they started getting popular in Europe more like 85, something like that. So we'd been using them for years. We had an absolute truckload of NTSC games, an absolute truckload of NTSC programs, all of them on 1541 discs. We weren't messing around with the data sets. We were done with those in like literally 1983. We were done with data sets. Everything was on disc over here, and you could not walk into any kind of big box store without seeing tons of Commodore 64s, tons of software, and tons of disk drives everywhere. It was just a fact of life. So that's it. I don't want to hear any more nonsense about, oh, all this stuff was only popular in Europe. Commodores are only popular in Europe. No, they weren't. Never. But I do appreciate you stopping by today. Please follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram. You can meet me there all the time, Facebook. Love chatting with you guys. But until next time, this is Doug from 10 Minute Amiga Retrocast, signing out.